All right, everyone. So we're going to break down the game plan for the week ahead. This coming week, we've got the 4th of July on Thursday, market holiday. So the markets are closed on Thursday. And then Friday, well, I think there's going to be a lot of people that end up taking just a long weekend. So this is more or less, I would say, going to be a short week. We've really got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to make the most that we can. And then Thursday, nothing. And then Friday, maybe wild card, but probably not going to get a whole lot. So before we break down the game plan and focus for the week ahead, I like to take a look at the previous week. And in this case, we can actually take a look back at the month of June, which is now in the books. So we wrapped up June, and I would say I kind of limped into the finish line. I didn't have a strong finish for the month of June, but, finish line is also, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So finishing one month, green or red, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I mean, in terms of just one month, big picture, of course, you want to be green more months than you're red, and June was a green month for me, but it just wasn't a terrific month. So let's see, let's look at, metrics for the last 30 days here. And this, I think, helps get people oriented. Those of you guys who are tuning in, who maybe perhaps have taken a week or a couple weeks off, kind of get, oriented with this state of the market right now. So total net gain last 30 days, month of June, 28,000. Now I did have $5,000 in ECN fees and $1,800 in commissions. So that means my gross profit would have been close to 35,000. Yeah. So 35,000 gross profit there. Net of fees and commissions is 28. All right. So, hey, not bad, not great. If we look at months of the year to date, this is going to be one of my slower months. Let's see. We're going to go to overview, and then we'll look at, let's see. Yeah, we'll look at it like this. So, yeah, you could see for sure February was a great month. March was slow. And the rest of the months have been averaging in the $35,000 to $40,000 range, right? Well, between 20 and 40 for sure. So it was a little on the lower side for June, but who knows? Maybe July will be a little on the higher side. It all kind of evens out towards the end of the year, as long as I can maintain these averages. And hey, if I get a couple of nice months like this, that is great. And you just never know when that can happen. That's the thing with trading. You just don't know when you're going to have a hot month, and you don't know when you're going to have a cold month. So when it's cold, you got to try to keep your head up. Stay focused on just hitting base hits, grinding on smaller daily averages until things open up, but keep showing up every day, because you don't know which day is going to be, the big days. And when it's hot, that's when I'm going to dig deep and trade a little more aggressively. So high level for the last week, and I guess this is my net year to date, 263,000. We already looked at this last week and noticed that I was up much more year to date than I was last year at this time. So tracking higher, which is good. And then back to the last 30 days. So $28,000 was the profit. Just to note a couple of things, average winners, kind of small. Average winner's only $400 year to date. That's just a smaller number in the last 30 days. Average losers $371. So a positive profit to loss ratio, accuracy 60%. That's a little lower. Average hold time a little shorter. I think this just speaks to the fact that we didn't have it was just not a month with a lot of home run trades where I could get in a position where I could hold for a bigger move. Biggest winner, 13 grand. That was on GameStop. Biggest loser, 4,000. That was on GameStop. So if we look at instrument for the last month, GameStop was the biggest winner. KAVL was the second. Zap was the third. So we'll just back out of this for 1 second. GameStop, I don't have to show you that chart. I mean, I'm sure you recall the impressive move that we had. So KAVL, though, this is one I actually just talked about in my recap on Friday, because it was a wild card Friday move. It was a couple Fridays ago, 2 Fridays ago, and this one just exploded. And the thing about it that I'll mention is that I wasn't fully prepared or even expecting anything like this, and so I didn't capitalize on it as well as I might have if this had happened during a hot market. If this had happened during a hot market, I would have jumped on with big size like immediately, right? It would have been, I would have just been sort of dialed in to be aggressive. But because the market had been a little cooler, I wasn't as aggressive as I could have been. And even though we got like an 800% move or whatever it was, I did well, but I didn't crush it. So I think another note is this little blip here of a couple afternoon trades for the month of June on GameStop. Getting a little FOMO, kind of trying to come back in the afternoon for like a power hour trade. That did not pay off. Ended up losing money there. I mean, I did have a couple of trades all the way up till 1 p.m. This is 12 to 1 p.m. right here. So trading a little longer worked. I also had a 4 a.m. trade, which was my best trade of the month. That's unusual, but again, this is the distribution of trades, and then that's the profit. So like one trade didn't take a lot of trades, but made some good profit. This is maybe interesting. The hour of 10 to 11 a.m. Quite a few trades, not a lot of profit, right? And even right here, 8 to 9, a lot of trades, not a lot of profit. 9 to 10 was a little bit better. It's just 1 month, but this is probably the biggest thing to take note of. Let's see, price and volume, nothing much to note there. Instrument market behavior, I don't think there's a lot to note there. Okay, so now let's talk about the week ahead. I would say that a trend for this past week, BENF, was we saw a lot of this type of stuff. So this is a stock on Friday, pops up, right? It moves higher and then slams back down. Big rejection. I mean, we saw that so many times during the week. I'm trying to remember the trade that I took on. I'll find it. I had a trade like that on Thursday as well. First trade of the day, just slammed back down, slammed into the red. Oh, it was Kala, Kala. Oh, this is actually a good example of what I was going to comment on. Here's another though, pop and then reversal. So a lot of that kind of action. That has led me to be a little bit more cautious and to be thinking I should be more cautious buying into these spikes. Now, even though I lost on BENF on Friday, at least I'm being moderate with share size. KALA, this is one where it initially pops up and rejects, as you can see right here. So see how this pops up right there and rejects? High volume red candle, it looks like it's dead, right? Another rejection, this garbage kind of price action, but then it just curls back up. That's the thing I think to pay attention to, is the ones that curl back up. Now this one curled back up, came back to the high, but then another topping tail and kind of comes back down. So it wasn't that strong, but it did try. And, it ended up actually, funny enough, closing pretty strong, which almost made it look like it was going to continue into the next day because it pretty much was just consolidating here, which I thought was setting up nicely for a breakout. That didn't end up happening, but it looked decent for that kind of move. So the moral of the story is be careful on that first pop. I'd say at this point, expect a rejection and then look for the curl. One of the challenges with trying to trade these curls is knowing kind of where to buy because it's not the most obvious pattern. So when we have a stock that makes a big move up, usually I'm thinking, all right, let's watch the first pullback. So this kind of, pops up here, pulls back quite a lot, right? Higher volume red candle. This is just the 1 minute chart of what I was just showing you. And it pops up, it drops down, it pops up. Like this to me, it's not super obvious to be buying, certainly here. Right here, I would say that we did break over VWAP, the volume weighted average price, our orange indicator here. So technically it's the first pullback after the break of VWAP because we've got above it, we went below it, which is bearish. We come back above it, we hold, and that could be a quick scalp right there from 580 up to, in this case, 620, which is 40 cents. We dip back down to VWAP right here. And this move, that's unexpected to me. I don't see, that's a tough one because there's nothing really, like the MACD is kind of sideways here. we had this nasty rejection right here where we go to 620 and then back down to 575, back down to the 9 EMA, back down to the VWAP, and then it kind of goes. But that just doesn't, could you take a micro pullback for the double top through the high? And that's kind of risky too. So I don't really know, what drove this up to this level, because this is a pattern that I can't really get my head around too much. But anyways, so, and then at the open, we have another kind of attempt at VWAP, a little pullback here, and then it goes. So I can kind of work with that. This setup drops down, comes back up, can kind of work with that, but it rejects. Little pullback there, pops up, little pullback here, and it pops up. But none of this was super easy. You're seeing a lot of candle wicks. You're seeing some false breakouts. So in general, was this clean? No, it really wasn't clean. I went red on it, and I wasn't able to recoup the losses, even though it came back up a bit. It was just sort of choppy. And I think the issue on this day was that this was on Thursday. It was up a bit, but there were other stocks that were more obvious. And so this has been a real challenge this month, is dispersed attention. We've had, it's like 10 different stocks that people are focusing on. And my problem on any particular day, my problem with that is if I'm in a stock, I'm like, oh, is it really obvious? I don't know, because there's like 5 penny stocks and there's, a couple other mid caps, maybe a large cap. There's just a lot of other stocks people are trading, and volume gets dispersed across all of them, right? So if you only had one stock that's obvious, all that volume ends up concentrating on that one stock. You get really high volume, you get more exaggerated moves, you get generally better price action. But when that volume is dispersed, it feels like maybe the advantage is more to kind of short sellers, because you get like a pop, but not enough buying to really sustain it, and then it rejects. And then like another pop, and then it rejects. And so I kind of felt like I got into this frustrating cycle of, being in a pop, but it wasn't that big. It would sort of fade. And then I'm like, it's not obvious enough. Should I really keep holding this? I think maybe people are just going to bail on it. And then it just sort of fades, right? Now, of course, some end up curling, but of 10 that are sort of in play, trying to watch to figure which one is going to curl, which one's going to hold up, I found it to be very difficult. So I almost felt like I was kind of chasing like pop to pop to pop, like what's popping up now? Because I'm thinking what's popping up now, traders are going to be looking at that for the next pullback. But it just sort of felt like fade, pop and fade, pop and fade, pop and fade. And finding one that was actually sustaining and continuing higher, where it was like making steps higher, leg up, leg up, leg up, that felt a lot more rare this month. Again, it happened, but it was just each day it felt like which of the 10 stocks that are in play right now that have above average volume is going to be the one. So even if we just look at Friday, look at the volume here. You've got Lucy, which had 359 million shares of volume. So I'll make this chart a little bit bigger. So this is one where first it pops up, it gives it almost all back. Then it kind of stair steps back up, drops down quite a bit again, pops back up, fades, right? So, that was doing its thing. And then you had COSM, which a lot of people were focusing on, right? So COSM, this one was certainly, look, it has 80 million shares. People traded it all day long. Was it clean? Not really. Not really. It was thickly traded. It was choppy. What about CMND? The CMND, it's got 75 million shares of volume. Was this clean? Not really. ASNS, was this clean? Not really. This was okay. That was a nice breakout there around 11 a.m. noon time. But, aside from that, INFN, 250 million share float, looks like maybe that's a merger or buyout or something. CARM, CARM, again, you get that pop, the fade, and then it's really just stair stepping down. And it's kind of crazy that it continued to draw as much volume as it did, 22 million shares of volume, despite the move really being after hours on Thursday. And then pre-market, it's selling off. Why were people even trading it? It was below VWAP basically all day. It got above VWAP for like very short periods. So I don't know why people were trading it as much as they were. I mean, would have been some short sellers, some people taking profit, but ECDA, this is another one from Friday. Look at this pop. Big pop up all the way back down, right? And then does it curl? A little bit, but pops up and rejects. So this is kind of the issue. I mean, these are all great examples of it. So here you have, 10 stocks. Now imagine if traders, I don't know, if we didn't have these and you only had one that was obvious, take all that volume and put it into one stock, that's when things get exciting. And GameStop was exciting. I had quite a lot of volume. But even when GameStop was moving higher, even during that time, you of course had other meme stocks like AMC and I can't think of all of them, but moving higher as well. And then this whole month we've had, and really it's been more than a month at this point, maybe 2 months, 6 weeks at least, where penny stocks have been a real focus. And that's just not an area where I've ever done super well. But it's often been a cycle where we'll have a period of momentum and then we kind of get a focus on penny stocks where the penny stocks become really obvious. Everyone's trading these cheap penny stocks. So that's not uncommon. But anyways, so yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're in a little bit of a tough cycle right now where it's a lot of sort of watching these pops, not being sure which one's going to hold. And I do think shorts have a bit of an advantage here because there's a lot of pops, shorting the pops. That seems to be working a little bit better. Now, of course, I'm not a short seller. That's not my primary strategy. I can understand the strategy, but I think it, for me, is not a good fit for my risk tolerance and the account type that I have, which restricts shorting. But it's been a little bit since I feel like we had, a trend of really like one obvious stock. Now, if we look back at the last week and we start looking, in fact, at the continuation scanner for the week ahead, we can see MLGO. So MLGO, this is one that I'll say was pretty strong. This, I think, might have been one of my biggest winners for the week. This was on Tuesday. So maybe it was Monday. Anyways, so this was one where we actually got some decent price action. So MLGO, 4 a.m., it pops up. That's right here. So again, a little topping tail, pulls back, comes back up, can't break the highs, pulls back, curls up, breaks the high, but only by a little bit. That's 6 a.m., dips down, rejection candle. That's a false breakout, by the way. It's red, kind of jackknife. That's a knife. And then around 8:15, it kind of starts to pull away. It goes up to 475, squeeze up to 550 to almost 6, but it rejects, right? So that's, again, that kind of frustrating action. Pulls back here, breaks, halts up, pulls back, pops up, pulls back, pops up, breaks the high. Now it's starting to pull away. 650 to 7, 750. Consolidation right here, goes up to 8. Pops higher, sells off sideways, then back up to the high. And every time we break the high, we push a little higher. So this ends up going up to 950, up to 10, up to 11, up to 12. Holy smokes, up to 14, up to $16. The next morning it pulls back. And then right here, we got this nice move, retested that previous high, just about. Pulls back at the open. Look at this squeeze all the way up here to 23. Pulls back. So now we're like, pushing higher and higher. This is great. And you see we get a little higher up here to 25. So overall, this was clean. This was pretty nice. I mean, it got a little choppy as the price got higher, spreads got a little bigger, but that was decent. RGS, this was also pretty good. We got a couple of days of price action on this where it just kind of kept grinding higher. So this goes from $6 all the way up to 24. But even on these days, these moves weren't as clean as if all the volume was concentrated on this stock, but they were decent. So in terms of continuation, RGS, it's something that I would keep an eye on if it can break the highs. MLGO, I tried to trade it on, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, this day where it broke the highs. The spreads were big, the volume was light. It went higher, but I think just it was not obvious enough, and that was the challenge. So KVL, BJDX. Some of these are nice nice stocks from a lot of perspectives. The float's right, the price is right. They've got a recent reverse split. It's kind of got everything we'd look for, but are they obvious enough? And that's where that final kind of piece of the puzzle, because we've had other stocks on most days that traders are focusing on, and they just continue to trade those same stocks again and again and again, it's been a little harder to count on these to give us a nice move. ZAPP. Let's see. Yeah, right. So this one's got a couple nice big green candles, but the topping tails. It's like it's got potential on the daily. It's got lots of room up to the 200 EMA. Reverse split back here in April. But it's just like it's not exploding. So, I think you have to be able to adjust your expectations. And right now we're in a market where I feel like I'm just trying to hit those base hits, try to be consistent. So each day I sit down, as always, I'm looking at the gap scanner and I'm asking myself, what do we have on here that I can really work with? Do we have a couple of stocks that are obvious? And that's why I ended up trading COSM on Friday. I didn't really like the setup all that much, but this break of 125 here, but I was like, it's obvious because at that time it was our leading percentage gainer. So I just thought, I guess this is what I should be focusing on. And I'm just going to, it's not, like I said, it's not my favorite, but it's just what I'm going to focus on because at the moment it's obvious. But that does get into a little bit of that challenge of sort of chasing, what's obvious from kind of stock to stock as it's hitting the scanners and constantly feeling like you're sort of behind the ball. So trying to focus on what's obvious, trying not to chase too much. Entries off support have been a little difficult with some of these because when they're down at support, you're like, well, are traders just going to abandon this and go focus on something else? Is it even going to curl back up when there's 8 or 9 other stocks that people are watching? So I haven't felt super confident with some of these entries off of support. Some of them they go lower and the dips don't get bought up. So that's been a little bit challenging as well. But when we've had a stock that is fairly obvious from the perspective of it's one of the top 3 percentage gainers, those ones have been a little bit better. So that's kind of my approach right now. Focus on trying to trade what's obvious, being aware that buying off support is better as long as the stock is obvious, but just keep really tight stops. So at least the losses are small. If you get in, it doesn't work out. And when it comes to stocks hitting the scanners, as always, I'm watching those micro pullbacks, but I'm also expecting kind of a pop and then a big reversal. And then the question is, does it curl? Can it get back over VWAP? What levels does it hold before it really, unwinds? So like I said, this week we've got the 4th of July. We've got our 4th of July summer sales going on right now at Warrior Trading, so you guys can check those out over on our website. I'll put a link in the description so you can see these summer specials that we've got going on. And, we're going to make the most that we can of this holiday week. So we've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to hit the ground running, try to build a little bit of a cushion, beginning of the new month, not try to do anything crazy, just a couple base hits, get green, get out, lock up some profit. Then we've got the market holiday on Thursday. A lot of traders are going to take the day off on Friday. I would guess that Friday's going to have half the volume of a normal day. So of a normal Friday. So it's going to be light volume. If you have 10 stocks that are in play, light volume is going to just make it that much worse. If you have nothing that's obvious, you may have one stock that becomes a wild card stock like we had on KAVL a couple weeks ago. But even my expectation for that is pretty low. So manage your risk as always. I look forward to seeing you guys in the community, in the classes, hopefully using the chat room, the scanners, the charts, the news feed, and everything else that you get when you're a Warrior starter, Warrior Pro member, or when you just sign up and use Day Trade Dash. But my broadcast is not available with Day Trade Dash, and my classes are not available with just the software only. So just so you know. All right, anyways, I hope you guys check those out, and I'll thank you as always for tuning in. I'll remind you as always that trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so manage your risk, take it slow, and I'll see you back here bright and early, especially for those of you guys who are already members, tomorrow morning. Okay, see you then.